Welcome to Family Gamer TV. We've been playing Wii Party U, which is the latest family-friendly game for the Wii U. My family has been looking forward to this one in particular because they really like Mario Party, and this is made by the Mario Party team. So for Wii Party U, there's still some of that board game element. So there's a main bit of the game where you play different themed board games. Each has the same basic principle. You're going around a board, rolling dice, or playing a little mini game like playing like a pinball game where you shoot a ball and it falls into a number to roll the dice. But you're going around, you're playing mini games to see who wins, and basically you want to get to the end first. But there are different themes in these board games. So, for instance, there's one called Highway Rollers, where if you win the mini game, then you get more dice to roll, so a higher likelihood of getting a higher number. And there are also more specific ones, like there's one called Me Fashion Plaza, where the point is to collect items of clothing and you want to build an outfit. There's one where you build a team of sports players, so you go around collecting members to add to your team, and then you want to have the best team at the end. So because this is a board game section, the mini games in it, you want them to be quite short. There's one where your Miis stand in a row and they're like in a shop and you're looking at hats on display. And the point is to quickly choose a hat, each of you, by selecting the button underneath it on your Wii remote. And what you want is you want to have a different hat than everyone else. So there'll be the same number of hats on display as there are Miis. And then you'll go into a changing room, you'll all come out, and if you're wearing the same hat, you don't get any points. But if you're wearing a hat that no one else is, you do get points. And it's quite funny, especially if there's moments where all of you pick the same one for whatever reason. And the good thing about it is that it means you have to kind of pay attention to what everyone in the room is doing around you and kind of think, oh, what would this person I'm playing with, what would they pick? You know, what are their preferences? What do I think they're going to go for? So it adds a kind of personal element to it. Instead of just looking at a screen and paying attention to what's on there, you're paying attention to the people around you as well. Another one of these mini games is kind of a hot potato style game, where instead of a hot potato, you're passing each other a bomb. And it has a countdown on it, but that disappears. So you see the countdown at the beginning. And then what my brothers and sisters were doing was whenever they were holding the bomb, they were counting in their heads or mouthing along to see if they could get down to the last second and then pass it to the next person. And it's quite a funny game because the person who loses, who has the bomb and then drops it, inevitably blames the other people for it. And it's quite funny because they can get quite cross with each other. So another one of these mini games that you play with the board game is one where you're cycling along a cliff edge and it's really, really narrow. You have to not fall off. And this is a nice use of the Wii remote where you have to kind of tilt it to cycle instead of just pressing the D-pad buttons. And this one was particularly funny because if you're concentrating on the screen, then someone next to you could kind of elbow you without you noticing, and then you could fall off. And the point is to be the last person kind of maneuvering along the cliff edge. Oh, who's left?
We fell off at the
Oh!
I was stretching.
Yeah. Of course you were stretching.
But some of these board games, like in the Mario Party game, aren't just everyone against each other. They kind of split it up in an interesting way, and they often use the GamePad to do this. So instead of 1v1v1v1, when you've got 4 players, you could have 1v3, for instance, where one player has the GamePad, and they're doing things like tapping on the screen to drop blocks on the other players who are running around on the top of a mountain. And the other players all have to try and get out of the way, but they can't see what the GamePad player is doing.
Run! 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 Run!
And there was also one called Catch a Wave, which my family in particular really liked because it involved singing, and my family loves singing. You sing into the GamePad mic, and the pitch of the note that you're singing makes a wave, and then on screen you can see the other players' Miis running around trying not to fall off this wave, and you've got to try and knock them off by singing the note that is where they're standing on the wave. So that's pretty cool. Now, aside from this board game section of Wii Party U, there's also kind of more involved, more physical mini games that take a bit longer because you're not confined to trying to get them done quickly so that you can roll the dice and carry on with the board game. This is called the House Party section, and they kind of are like party games. So it's the kind of thing you might want to play if you've got friends over and you want to show off the Wii U and what it can do. And my family really liked these ones because they were a bit more involved and they kind of encouraged you to get up and use the GamePad and things like that. So one of these was called Lost and Found, and my family loved this one. And again, you had one player on the GamePad and the others using Wii remotes, and they were looking at the TV. And the person on the GamePad would be put down in an area on a map that the others could see on the TV. And the point was you had to move the GamePad around to look around you and see what was next to you, kind of landmarks and stuff, and then tell the other players where you were standing.
A blue car which is next to a green train, and right behind me is a robot. But there's also another one of me right behind me as well, which is standing in front of the robot.
Oh!
I can see you. You're just in front of me. Yeah.
And then the other players have to look at the map and try and remember where everything is. And then once it's time to go, they have to run towards the landmarks that you're describing, all the while making sure that they don't pick out someone else instead of you.
Where are you?
You okay, Bo?
Bo, over here! Over here!
I'll go and find him.
There was another game that my family really, really liked that was called Name That Face. And I think the reason they like this is because they're quite theatrical, so it gave them a good way to show off their skills. But basically, again, you had another player with the gamepad, and they would be given a word describing kind of a situation or an emotion or something like that, and they had to pull a face into the gamepad camera, and the gamepad would take a picture of them that would then be shown to the rest on the TV, and they had to guess out of 4 multiple choice answers what emotion or what situation that other person was trying to convey. So it might be something like, I think my brother had to do giving someone directions, so he had to pull a face that you might pull if you were giving someone directions, and then the others got 4 options up on screen, and one of them was that, and they had to guess which one he was doing. And obviously all of them could pick different answers, so it was quite funny seeing what different people thought his facial expression meant. And then there was a very different one of these house party games called Button Battle or something like that. And it didn't use the TV at all. What you did is you laid the gamepad on a table or on a flat surface, and then you had Wii remotes in front of it. And it was kind of like a Twister style game. So what you did was you laid all these controllers out, and then the game would tell each person in turn something to press. So it would be like, this player pressed the A button on the middle controller, and then this player pressed the D pad on the gamepad, and this player let go of that button, and etc, etc, etc. And you'd end up with everyone kind of piled in, all arms overlapping each other, trying to press these buttons. Definitely a good one for party situations. Definitely one that you don't need to understand games consoles to get the concept of how to play it. Kind of like a board game, you can just get it out and everyone immediately understands what's going on. Speaking of using the gamepad, there were also 2-player games that just used the gamepad. They didn't use the TV at all. So you could play with a friend or with your brother or sister, or you could play against the computer for some of the competitive ones. Put the gamepad on the table on the flat surface again, and then each of you went one side and you had 1 analog stick each, and it was like robot fighting. My brothers, especially my younger brothers, really, really loved this game. And you can see it got quite competitive. An example of one of the co-op ones, so my brother and sister tried this one out, is one where you have to row a boat, but you have to do it together. So one of you's doing one part of the rowing and one of you is doing the other part, so steering or going forward or whatever. And you have to talk to each other constantly so that you can steer around the obstacles and get to the goal. So it really encourages, planning together and talking to each other and communicating and things like that. Obviously, the good thing about these ones where you play just on the gamepad is that you don't need the TV. So if someone else is using the TV, you can still be playing a competitive or cooperative game without using the TV at all, which is quite rare. Normally, if you're not using a TV, you're just playing on your own on a console. So it's pretty cool to see this kind of board game situation still happening. And generally, I think the point of Wii Party U is that you have different things to do in different situations, because it gives it more structure. You don't have to pick the games, it chooses them for you. And that's the kind of situation in which they like to play Mario Party. So different situations call for different kind of games. Like I said before, the house party games are really good if you've got a friend over, maybe one who doesn't really play games or doesn't have a Wii U and you want to show what it can do, because all the different games really use the gamepad in really interesting ways. But the thing to remember is that everyone has different preferences. So there are different games in Wii Party U that some of them my brothers and sisters weren't too keen on, others they really liked. And the good thing about this is there are loads and loads and loads of games on it. So there's loads of choice. Everyone is definitely going to find something they like. And overall, it's a great collection of party games, board games, competitive games, cooperative games. You can choose anything you want to do for good family fun. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.